Chris asked me if I would like to talk, and I said yes. And then we were like, well, what should we talk about? And I said, well, I had been thinking about, with SaaS, it's kind of like there's so much investment and there's so many companies now. Maybe this kind of gold rush of SaaS is over. And Chris was like, oh, we're always having this conversation in our office, so let's just do it. So I prepared this presentation over the last few days. I haven't given it before, so it might not make any sense. But anyway, let's go. Before I start, as I was getting into this, I kind of thought, I don't really like industry analysis very much because it kind of like, like The Economist, all these things, the statisticians and economists, they kind of try to make it seem like, well, this is the way the economy is going, therefore, it's going down, so everyone's going to be a loser for a while, and then, but where it kind of pegs people into maybe not being able to, it implies that people can't take control of their own destiny or something like that. So there's no reason why, you can't make your own gold rush, I believe, in Krakow or in Poland or anywhere in Europe. But anyway, and there's not much data gone into this presentation either. To do this kind of thing properly would probably require a lot of data analysis we haven't done. So, but it's more my opinions. So before I start, I just wanted to say that, this is just opinions. So anyway, my name is Nick. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder CEO of a company called ChartMogul. We provide analytics software as a SaaS to subscription businesses, so any type of subscription business. We're based out of Berlin. We're about 14 people now. And prior to starting this business, I worked at Zendesk for 5 years. So I was one of the first 9 people at Zendesk before doing this business. So yeah, we have some cool customers, live chat based here in Poland. Very proud to have those guys as a customer. And I didn't actually realize they're a public company floated on the Polish stock market, which is pretty cool. Anyway, on to the presentation. So why maybe the SaaS gold rush is over? Well, partly, everyone in this room is pretty late to the party, honestly. Salesforce is 17 years old now. This is the tower they're currently, a construction company is building this in downtown San Francisco. It will be the tallest building on the west of the Rocky Mountains. So it's there definitely was a gold rush, but maybe it's like maybe we're kind of reached peak SaaS. And 17 years, I'll be like 50 years old nearly by the time ChartMogul, if it's still around in 17 years. So it's kind of interesting. But at the time, so this it wasn't clear, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, that there would be like kind of a gold rush in SaaS, or that the people who were building SaaS companies at the time would be successful. So this is an email exchange between Christoph Jans and Alexander, who is one of the founders of Zendesk, and Christoph, who's the first angel and main angel investor into Zendesk. And it's like, they're talking about their Series A round from CRV in Boston. They're saying, Alex is saying, I still believe the risk of taking money is as great as not doing it. I'm not confident that Zendesk can grow into a $100 million company. Are you? I'm not saying that we should not risk it all. And then Christoph's saying like, okay, I think there's a $100 million opportunity here, etc. So it's kind of like, this is the founder of Zendesk. After they have nearly 1,000 customers, they're like, maybe it's not going to be huge. And now it seems in hindsight inevitable that SaaS is kind of taking over the world. And of course, customer service will all be done as a SaaS software solution. So it's kind of interesting. So maybe this was the time to be starting a SaaS company, right? This is early 2009, this email was written. But, and now it seems like the competition and money pouring into SaaS is really super white hot, and that maybe all the low-hanging fruit for ideas or projects has been taken past. Was anyone at SaaStr Annual in San Francisco in February? This is like a photo we took from the balcony, and it's just like the amount of activity there is like crazy. It's just like this meetup, but with like 5,000 or 6,000 people. So like basically, and lots of sponsors paying a lot of money. But there was an opportunity at some point, where legacy players who were doing like large legacy on-premise enterprise software, they didn't really move very fast into the SaaS space. Companies like Siebel and SAP and Microsoft, SAP just kind of started the CRM and became the dominant player. And Remedy right now and kind of these solutions, they kind of still doing desktop software, on-premise software, and Zendesk kind of came along, and same with Box and NetSuite in ERP and collaboration storage. So there was definitely an opportunity where some huge giants in SaaS were made, where large enterprise players didn't move fast enough, and but maybe that gap is now over. I mean, the message probably isn't this anymore. So this used to be like Salesforce's kind of promotion, like no software, you don't have to install anything. And when I started working for Zendesk back in 2009, we still had to explain what SaaS was. We'd say, oh, it's software, it's SaaS, it's software as a service. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And part of the argument was, it's cost saving, and you don't have to install it or maintain it and these kind of things. But I don't think I've had a conversation like that for a few years now. I think around 3 or 4 years, that hasn't been the conversation. It hasn't been, oh, you don't have to install it, therefore it's better. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to update it, therefore it's better. Because it's kind of assumed that now all new software being built today is SaaS. These days that's not the thing anymore. And so if you're starting a SaaS company today, the kind of value proposition probably isn't that you're removing the need for on-premise installs, and also the value proposition probably isn't anymore that you have more elegant design or better user experience, because at the same time as stuff moved off premise into SaaS, good design seemed to just kind of permeate throughout the industry, thankfully. And it kind of went from this kind of thing to this kind of thing. So just being SaaS, or just having a SaaS-based solution to something on-premise, and just having good design versus bad design just isn't probably going to cut it anymore. And because most of that stuff has already happened. Not 100% yet. There are still some large trailing categories. The category that we're in, analytics, business intelligence, is still, there aren't that many public SaaS companies. The only one I could think of was New Relic, honestly, which is kind of a developer tool set, not really a general business intelligence thing. And public companies like Tableau and MicroStrategy, they're still shipping desktop software. I'm sure they're kind of working on a SaaS thing, or they have partly a SaaS thing, but it's still not, they're still trailing. And this could be just because the domain that they're in, it's harder to have a homogeneous solution. Like Zendesk has like email support. Email is fairly homogeneous technology, whereas with analytics you have like siloed data, very different data sets to work with, and it's possible you can't just do a one-size-fits-all like you could with CRM or support software. But now today, there's 12,000 SaaS companies listed on Angel List. Probably some of those are in the room here, I would imagine. This is Bessemer's, I've cut their credit for this slide off, but it's Bessemer's thing. It's from 2014, and it's the top 300 privately held cloud companies. So this is old now. I spent a little bit of time trying to ring the ones that have IPO'd or exited. Interesting thing is Twilio is going public today, so that's kind of fun. I think that's the first SaaS IPO of this year, I believe, and it's also the first API SaaS ever to go public, I believe, too, which is pretty exciting. Twilio on the bottom left there. So they're floating, I think, on the New York Stock Exchange later today, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, I kind of ringed the ones in green that went public already and the red ones that got acquired, and then I kind of gave up because it would take a long time to go through all 300 and see what their current status was. So, but there's 12,000, and I'm guessing, these are the top 300, and we haven't heard of all of these 300. I certainly haven't heard of all of them. So there's definitely a lot of competition now. But so what's to come? Who's next? Well, Twilio IPOing today. And then I think I was looking up, okay, who's going to IPO this year? DocuSign and Hootsuite, and possibly Domo this year. This is total speculation, but it's kind of interesting. So Domo is a kind of bringing a legacy category into SaaS, a bit like Salesforce did. But DocuSign and Hootsuite, they're new categories. This is signing documents electronic, and this was started in 2003. DocuSign, and they're now at this point ready to go public, I would probably. And Hootsuite too is a new technology founded in 2008. It couldn't exist without the cloud. It's social media management, so social media didn't really exist in the early 2000s. So that's interesting too. Well, one thing you could say, well, this is also from Bessemer. It's a pretty interesting slide. It shows the growth rates of SaaS versus on-premise. So on-premise, in terms of revenues, is contracting at close to 3% a year, whereas SaaS is expanding close to 18% a year. So the aggregate growth rate of software is something like 15% annually, but it's all being driven by SaaS. In fact, the on-premise stuff is dragging the market down. And SaaS is now nearly 30% as of 2014. So it's like, well, of course we're not of course there's still a huge opportunity in SaaS because we've only got 30% of the market and we're growing like crazy. But I guess the question is how much of the remaining 70% of the market that might be available is going to be taken by the people in this room or by one of the 300 top companies or the already public companies. And my guess is a lot of it will already be taken by the public companies or the 300 top cloud companies on the previous slide, because they're the ones that are driving this trend. They're the ones with huge global sales teams, marketing teams, et cetera, that can actually drive this forward. So what can we do as kind of maybe seed stage funded SaaS companies today? So I think there's still a lot of opportunity, of course, otherwise we wouldn't be doing a SaaS company. So and I'm highly optimistic. But I think there's three things that is maybe driving the SaaS industry at the early stage at this point. One is vertical SaaS, which we're seeing, I think most SaaS companies that I've seen in the last couple of years are vertical SaaS companies. So it's like with building a SaaS product is much cheaper than building, much cheaper than it used to be to build a software product, and it's much cheaper to distribute it as well because it's online. And you can now build a vertical SaaS in almost any industry and have it be a viable small business or a decent sized business. So you have SaaS companies for the legal industry, for medical industry, for agricultural industry. This is a SaaS specifically for goat herding. So it's you can make these things into viable businesses, and it's pretty exciting. And we're a vertical SaaS as well. But for subscription businesses, what we do. So it's kind of vertical, cross industry, but still a vertical SaaS. I think the ones that really seem to be pulling ahead though is not the vertical SaaS companies as far as I can tell, but the ones that the SaaS companies that are really inventing a new category that couldn't really exist without being in the cloud. And the two biggest ones I think are API SaaS companies like Twilio, Algolia, Contentful, Clearbit. Contentful, based out of Berlin, also they just raised $12 million from Benchmark, I believe. So it's definitely Algolia doing very well. I think it seemed for years, I might be wrong, but it seemed like Twilio was kind of the lone wolf of API-based sort of SaaS, and then now in the last couple of years, everyone seems to be doing an API SaaS product, and it's hot now, and that's probably going to keep happening, especially with Twilio IPOing today. And then there's sort of new ways of communicating. So I think Slack and Intercom, these are they've invented a new way of communication, a new paradigm for communication. And I think these companies are definitely, they're definitely very disruptive today. There's other categories like developer tools, which I don't really understand particularly well, so I can't really comment on it. But it's hard to know, are they SaaS or not, but they definitely have the same subscription business model. And the SaaS is a marketplace. So Xanafits is kind of has this product, but you can get offline sort of insurance services and things like this. And Freightos is SaaS product that's free, but you get shipping. You can sort of purchase shipping through it. I'm not sure if this trend will keep going or not. Who knows? So what will happen next? I think we're going to see more SaaS attacking other SaaS companies. That's probably going to start happening as there's just not as many. SaaS used to attack the legacy, this whole Salesforce, no software thing. Now it's the smaller SaaS companies are sort of attacking the larger SaaS companies. And you can't just attack a company by building a copy of it. You have to do something different, right? So some of the things that might cause this to help people disrupt incumbent SaaS players would be UI changes in the UI. So Natural language is one, like messaging or voice and all these kind of things, like everything can be done in chat. But I'm not so hot on this, so like you got the Siri thing, and this is all I can really do with it. Set alarm for 8 a.m.
Okay, it's on.
Sweet, like, I mean, but like, I don't think, so there's this sort of argument, and a lot of people write about, well, this like natural language, you could say, well, just show me, if it's analytics software, show me a graph of our lifetime value segmented by marketing channel, etc. I don't see that probably happening anytime soon. I think you could do it, but how is that more valuable than just clicking a few buttons in a nice user interface? It might not be. So I might be proved wrong though. And maybe some tech shifts. I mean, single page applications, everyone's doing that now, but what's to come next? They've only been around a few years, and surely something will come afterwards. And then AI. So this is like a big thing. You know, like you can automate intelligently a lot of different stuff. Customer service and sales, bookkeeping. I'd love it if someone could automate our bookkeeping. You know, we do a lot of manual processes for our sales, which I'm sure someone will be able to automate with AI within a short period of time. And then this is a slide from this Tuesday from Dave McClure's presentation in San Francisco at a 500 Startups event. I saw it on Facebook and thought, oh, that's what I'm writing about right now. So I grabbed it, and it's showing like, I wasn't at the presentation. It was just on Facebook, so I don't really know, but it's saying, you know, this is kind of like the industries where AI applications is kind of appearing, I guess, probably in investments or something like that. So it's kind of like healthcare, sales and marketing, BI, security. So it's kind of like AI is like hotting up, and the companies getting funded today by YC and 500 startups and these kind of things are all saying, okay, we're using AI to do this better. This is a lot of what's coming. So this might be quite disruptive to incumbent larger SaaS players. And then I think the other thing is that this whole concept of like the consumerization of the enterprise, this was like the promise of SaaS, that it suddenly becomes like just as easy to get an enterprise software as buying, you know, like downloading an app for your iPhone. But I don't think this trend has really completed yet, and it's still got a long way to go. A lot of SaaS today is still very far from being fully consumerized. And I think like Europe is in a perfect position to do this. I didn't produce this image. It was produced by SaaS Doc, this conference that's coming up in September in Ireland. So there's a lot missing from here. But I think Europe is really well aligned to do consumerized SaaS. You know, companies like Pipedrive and Boss and Intercom and Typeform in Barcelona, and Workable. It's like something about the European market that makes it like very much, we almost have an advantage, I think. We have great like designers here, developers. Our costs are lower than the United States. We don't have the advantage of, you know, being on the ground in the US where you can do like enterprise sales, maybe up until we get a bit larger. But doing this kind of low cost, highly consumerized SaaS is something I think that we can do better here in Europe than anywhere else in the world. And I think it's already starting to happen. So I think this is where I think Europe will come to perhaps dominate or do extremely well in this kind of low-cost consumerized SaaS. And it's much more competitive to produce a kind of low-cost consumer SaaS product it's hard to disrupt a company with like 100,000 customers, whereas it's easier to disrupt a company like that only has 100 customers paying millions of dollars each. So I think Europe's going to do extremely well here, and I'm very optimistic. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.